even I might know certain things, but I was so knee deep in the X's and O's. I'm so knee deep into how can I get Jim to make shots? How can I get Jim to dribble the ball the right way? How can I get this, and this to happen? How can I prepare for our next opponent? That I stopped remembering it's about the people. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the people with you, then all of a sudden you're not going to maximize your success, but you're certainly not going to maximize their success. You're not going to help take them from where they are to where they need to be. And so getting fired was a huge moment in my life where it was like a wake-up call. It was like, hey, Jamy, you care about your players, but they don't know that you care because it's all about you as a coach. It's all about you are the expert. It's your offense. It's your defense. It's your team. It's not our team. And so that was a big wake-up call for me. And from then on out, I tried to be better at that. I tried to influence people more from the standpoint of, we're all in this together and I'm going to learn about you and what do you need? What do you want as an athlete? And so you asked kind of what that number one thing was. Well, it was understanding people. It was getting to know what they want, what they need. And then not just about what Jamy wants or what Jamy needs. And it was a lot of ownership, them buying into the whole thing because it's not just Jamy's team. It's our team. It's our offense. It's our scouting report. And so you connect with them. You find out what's important to them and you connect with them because we're all in the sales business, no matter what we're doing. I mean, this morning I'm trying to sell my 11-year-old on why he can't take his Kindle to school. And he's trying to sell me on why he should take his Kindle to school. We're all in the sales business, whether we have a salesman business card or not. Well, as a coach, I'm in the sales business, but I'm not going to get them to do what they need to do for the sake of the team if they don't know, like, and trust me. If we haven't connected in some way. And so I wasn't connecting with my players all those years. I was just being the expert. I was being that professor up in front of the class who just lectures. I know my material. I'm going to provide the material to you in a one-way communication. But there's no connection. It's almost like that Ferris Bueller Day Off, that old movie. Yeah. Where Ben Stein is Bueller. He's the expert, but nobody cares. He's not inspiring anybody. So nobody learns anything.
Yeah. So you made a transition, I'm certain, in your coaching practice and how you went about things. What did it look like as you started to transition, and how receptive were the players?
Well, it happened, it's one of those things where you kind of do it gradually, or you because you're learning as you go. It's not necessarily, all right, I had this come to Jesus meeting moment or this light. I mean, yes, I got fired, but that was more internally of, hey, I need to do things better, because it's not like now that I got fired, I'm going to change my ways with these players because I'm pretty much done. Mm-hmm. So the next job that I go to now, what did I learn? How can I be better in my next job? How can I take all those lessons and kind of wrap them up and put a nice bow around it and become a better coach for my next job? Because you're always trying to improve. And so, that's what I did. We start having more team, one-on-one type stuff. We start to have more. And when the one-on-one type stuff's happening, I'm doing more listening.
Yeah.
I'm not just telling them stuff. We're doing more listening. We're doing more, casual type stuff, informal type stuff where they feel more at ease, not like, they got called to the principal's office or they're just talking to coach. So we do more informal stuff. One of the things that I started doing was, and I don't have a great name for this. I never had a name for it. We just did it. But let's say you have 5 days a week and we have 15 players. I would touch base with 3 players a day. Mm-hmm. And I would do this very subtly and non-threatening. Sure. But maybe they'd be shooting free throws before practice over at the side basket. And I'd go up to them and be like, hey, Jim, let's say you're a big, it doesn't matter, a football fan of Tom Brady. Hey, Jim, what do you think about the Super Bowl coming up? Or what do you think about, this or that? Or you're a big music fan and one of your favorite artists is coming in concert to a town near you. Hey, you think you're going to go to this? I just saw that, this artist is going to be performing nearby. You think you're going to go, but you just do something subtle. And you talk to them for a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And then, you don't say, all right, now it's time for me to go over here and talk to Jalen, and give him his love for the day. No, you just say, man, I like your stroke today. I like your shooting form. This is going to be a good practice. This is going to be a good practice. Keep it up.
Yeah.
And then you go over to Jalen over here at this other basket or where he's tying his shoe, and you do the same thing with him. So you figure out what you're going to say to each player each day, and you do that. And then, if Jim's day is Monday, well, next week, maybe it's Tuesday. So they don't catch on that you do this,
right.
Every Monday.
Oh, here it comes. It's Monday.
Yeah. But you're essentially making these little touch points, and you start to break the ice. You start to melt the ice with some of these players. And let's say Jim and I have a good relationship. Well, then it's even better. But if Jim and I don't have a good relationship, well, we're not going to be best friends after a couple of weeks, but it starts to melt that ice. And maybe by the end of the season, you know what? There's a connection there. Maybe Jim is buying into what I'm selling, but maybe I'm buying into what Jim's selling. Maybe I'm starting to understand more of what makes Jim tick. There's that connection going on. And so that was one tangible thing that I did as a coach that really made a huge difference, is that those little 1 to 2 minute touch points. You still have meetings once in a while, but this was, hey, coach cared. Wow. That was cool that coach cared, that coach mentioned Tom Brady, or coach mentioned this or that. It goes a long way. I think those little small interactions.
I think a common theme to what you've been talking about the last 10 minutes or so is the foundational elements for change or for success. And I'm just thinking about myself. I've got a coach. I race the Spartan series competitively around the country. And to be a successful Spartan racer, you really need to be a runner. And I'm thinking I got a 6-mile run when we get off the call. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't have a race for 2 more months. But I know that the foundational element of that 6-mile run today is going to help me be a better racer in 2 months from now. And if I miss today, I've missed a critical piece in the pie. And I think, what you're talking about coaching and spending a couple of minutes with the players. And then prior to that, don't worry about what the coach is doing. There's a reason why, he's not an idiot. He's got a purpose, right? All these things are foundational elements to be better in what we do and who we are. And I love that you've pointed it out to the fine detail of, hey, spend a minute or two with the player or with your employee or with your kid and start building those foundational elements, because what comes down the road is so much. There's so much more gratitude and substance to it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I would even extend it out further. And I know not all your listeners are coaches.
Yeah.
Sports coaches, obviously. But where can you also do these little touch points? Where can you also, are there some other elements that you can connect with? And for like a sports coach, you do this with parents too. It's not parents are, kryptonite and you stay away from them. Maybe I go up to Jim's parents, every other week after a game or something like that. Or I'm shooting them a quick email. Hey, Jim really worked hard today in practice. I was really proud of him. Or I asked him to do this and he did this, and it was great. Just little touch points here and there, because you talk about foundation. I think you have to build some kind of a foundation sometimes with people. You have to build that strong connection, that strong bond, because oftentimes we are going to have some tough conversations or difficult conversations with people.
Yeah.
And when you're going to do that, you need to have a strong bond if you're going to have a tough conversation with people. And oftentimes we don't do that. We don't have that money, so to speak, built up in our bank account for when we have to withdraw it. We don't have that emotional bank account very full when we have to withdraw. Maybe Jim's not getting the job done. He's not doing something he's supposed to do. And I go to his parent, and now all of a sudden his parent doesn't buy into what I'm selling. His parent doesn't like me because I haven't spent any time with the parent. I haven't built any connection. All they've done is seen me through the eyes of Jim, and Jim is definitely not going to be talking nicely about me. And so I haven't built up any connection. So you could extend that out to employees. You could extend that out to just people you're working with. It could be the local person where you do your banking at. Maybe one day you're going to have a problem at that bank and you're going to need some customer service. And if you've been short, or if you've been, kind of rude to different people along the way, you haven't built up any of that emotional, credibility or that emotional connection. And so I think that's important, just to treat people well, just in general. Be kind to everybody. That's actually one of the things I tell my son three things when he gets out of the car in the morning. I say, I love you, but I say, be kind to everybody, even if they're not kind to you. Yeah. And I say, be a good leader today.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But being kind, not just like the kumbaya, but just, a smile, just a kind word. Hey, a compliment, catch someone being good. Hey, if you see someone doing something good, you praise them, you acknowledge that. And that could be our employees. That could be our bosses. That could be just someone we don't even know. Hey, I noticed that you picked up that trash, or I noticed you did this. Hey, great job. Great job with this.
Yeah. It's interesting. Oftentimes we can be the coach, but we don't follow our own advice. I told my daughter, like you, I believe in positive affirmations. And I told my daughter this morning on her way to school, I said, did you know that you are just the most beautiful young lady? And she said, oh, thanks, Daddy. I said, but you know what also makes you beautiful? What's on the inside and how you treat other people. So when you go to school today, don't forget to be nice to other people no matter what. And, and then I come back home, it's like, well, I better be doing that too, right? And I don't care if I'm ugly, but I better be nice to other people. We can all live by our own advice, but also make a conscious effort, like you said, those little touch points and just being kind, because the value that comes out of that is so much greater than you can imagine.
Yeah. And toward the end of my first coaching job, where I got resigned, I was given a book right toward the end, ironically, by a soccer coach, but it was called Catch Them Being Good. And it was about the U.S. national soccer team. And I was like, I don't need to read this soccer book. I'm a basketball guy. I don't need to read soccer stuff. But I eventually read it after I got fired. And I'm like, man, I should have been doing this while I was coaching. Catch Them Being Good. Because my whole first 4 years of being a head coach, I was like, why should I pat you on the back for blocking out or getting a loose ball or doing what you're supposed to do? That's what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to pat you on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. But you know what? I love it when my wife puts her hand on my shoulder and says, hey, thanks for doing the dishes. Hey, thanks for picking up those socks, even though I told you 12 times to do it. And it took you the 13th time to do it. I still like that affirmation. I still like, hey, well done. Good job. And I think we take that same approach that I had was I don't need to be giving out compliments left and right. I don't need to be giving out praises and acknowledgments, but people need that. People want to feel good about what they're doing. They want to feel good about themselves. And especially if you're in any kind of leadership role, but I would say anybody, because anybody can be a leader. Everybody out there is going to influence someone to some degree. When you give out compliments and not like fake compliments, I don't say, hey, good job, Jim, when you obviously didn't do a good job,
right?
But you can be specific about something. You can be, hey, when you did X, Y, and Z, that's exactly, what we've been talking about. That's going to go a long way. X, Y, and Z was exactly what you're capable of doing. And so be specific with your compliment. I know that you're big into positivity. I'm big into positivity, but it's not necessarily just the pom-pom positivity, with the cheerleaders. You're down 20 points with a minute to go and they're saying, we're number one, we're going to win this game. It's like, no, you're not going to win the game. Like, that's false positivity.
Right.
But it's the positivity of, hey, we can finish strong. We can get some momentum going into our next practice or our next game, or we can spend this last minute doing what we know we should do, even though we're getting beat.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, you can do this because I saw you do this last Tuesday in practice, or remember in the last game, or remember in the last quarter, you got your sales reports done, or you did this, or you did that. Put some, don't be afraid to catch people being good, but then be specific about it too. So that's not just that pom-pom fake positivity stuff, but it's real positivity of, hey, your podcast. Yes. Yes. Hey, finding solutions, being positive, moving forward. We can do this. And this is how we can do this. And so I think we forget about that sometimes because it's like, well, I don't want to just throw out compliments left and right. Well, catch people being good because they love that. And they're going to be more inspired to do more of the good things.
Yeah. Jamy, I love your approach and your style. It feels so natural to me to hear you talk about things and how you've managed your teams and where you're going. If somebody wanted to say yes to you more often, you've got a podcast, you've got books, you've got speaking and training. Give us kind of some of the highlights of the things that you're currently doing and how people can utilize you as a resource. Because I think once they hear how genuine you are on this show, they're going to, okay, I want a little bit more of Jamy. We've had some great guests that are rah, but we are always looking for that authentic and real. And I think you fit that description.
Well, I appreciate that. we do the podcast, the Success is a Choice podcast, and it's not a good business model because we're not in one niche, one market. We interview people that I think are interesting and that have a good story